Hi everyone, welcome to Tony Fox Tarot. Thanks for joining me today and great to have you with me. So today we are looking at your future child. Lots to unpack in this reading. We're going to break down the characteristic traits of your child in terms of their interests, their looks, their behavioral patterns, how they're going to do at school, what their future study might be, and also, into their adulthood, what kind of career are they looking at in terms of a pathway into the future as they become a self-determining, self-sustaining individual. Also things like inherent qualities, are they going to take after you or after your partner or after either sides of each other's families? Or is it a combination of all of those things? We'll also look at how the birth process unfolds for you as a person. So, that's everything from conception to gestation and childbirth. Is this going to be a bumpy ride in terms of a birth, or is it smooth sailing? And what kind of setting are you going to have your child in? Is it going to be a home birth? Is it going to be in a clinical setting with a hospital? So lots to get through. And before we get started, if you want to go down below and hit subscribe, tap on the bell icon while you're there. That'll give you notifications for any future readings that I post. Like and share this video where you can. And if you're interested in the services that I offer as a psychic tarot reader, you can go to www.tonyfoxtarot.com. Now, before you on the screen, we've got 4 different cards, and the idea is to choose a card that resonates with you really strongly. Once you've made that choice, that will be your reading. It's perfectly fine to choose more than one card if it comes through really strongly for you. And just remember, this is a general reading, so take what resonates and leave behind anything that doesn't. Now, we've got card 1, card 2, card 3, and card 4. Taking a moment just to center yourself, to relax, take a deep breath, connecting in with the cards, using your intuition, your inner feeling, your inner voice. Which of these cards speaks to you the loudest? Is it card 1, card 2, card 3, or card 4? Now, down below, there are 4 different timestamps. If you'd like to go to the card that you chose, I'll see you in a moment. Hi everyone, welcome to card 2. This is your reading, and today we're looking at your future child. So this is really exciting stuff, and we've got some cards here ready to just jump straight in. I got a real buzz on this particular layout of cards. I get a sense of something really unique coming through here. I felt this was a child who was waiting to incarnate, over here to round and round. There's just a sense of ethereal and spiritual energy that really needs to connect to you at the right time. This is a really placed birth. And I felt that it would happen, that the conception of this child would happen really unexpectedly. It's going to be a bolt out of the blue. And when it does happen, it's going to happen at a time in your world, for you, where you're really at great heights in terms of what's going on for you, in terms of your day-to-day experiences. I just get a sense of a feel-good factor, good times, like everything's going really well. You're on this slipstream of energy that's just really taking you down a path where you're feeling really positive about everything. And this is like the icing on the cake. It just really gives you this kind of boost of energy. It takes you to a new height at a spiritual level as well. And I felt that there was a lot of support around you with this child. A lot of people really wanting to be a part of the process of you being pregnant and giving birth, but also there for you after the birth in terms of, an ongoing. You could say this is the case for a lot of people, but there's something different about this. I felt that this was one of 3 children for you. If you haven't already had children, this is the first of 3. And I felt a very masculine energy coming through here. What was really interesting for me was that this was a very easy birth. There was no inhibitions there, no restrictions, no conflict, very free-flowing, very easy. And I felt straight away that you had this idea for yourself that you really wanted to raise this child in a way that was different, perhaps either to children that you've already had before, or to the idea of how it is that you're supposed to have to raise children. There's something quite individualistic from your point of view. I kind of feel that you have so much nurturing energy here to give to a child. I think you're a very spiritual person yourself. You're very connected to your intuitive self, and there's something quite healing. And I think what I want to say is there's an emotional depth to you that just reaches in very deeply with people, and so this child is going to really fit in to your way of life in a way where you're going to be giving a lot to them, to help them and to rear them in a way that's going to be very, very different from everybody else. I get individuality with this child. They have a very unique perspective straight from the go. I don't get a child that screams. I don't get a child that cries. I get a very happy-go-lucky kid that's always looking for fun and finding fun and wanting to share with other people the fun that they find. There's a lightheartedness about them. They raise people's spirits in a way where people feel really good around them. So there's a positive, grounded, yet ethereal energy coming through with this child. I felt that they would look really angelic. I mean, most people probably think all their kids, their kids do look angelic, but this child in particular has got the angelic look. People will comment on that. And there is something quite ethereal about their energy. People are going to be drawn to a sort of very warm child. The inquisitiveness is really strong here with the Fool and the Three of Cups. The Fool is all about going on a unique journey. It's about a road less traveled. It's about not being restricted or tied down to any one thing. It's certainly a very non-conformist energy. And the Three of Cups celebrates that particular feeling, that particular action in a way where this is a kind of like a signal that says, yes, this is the way to bring up this child. This is the way that this child needs to figure themselves out in a way. So I kind of felt that they would do things very differently. It's not that they are alienated because of that. If anything, they're always going to be celebrated for it. This is a very liked person. There is something about them that is almost a bit of a Pied Piper. I kind of feel that people will follow them in the way that they find new ways of doing things, new ways of seeing things. At the same time, I do feel that there is a bit of a kind of an unruly nature there as well. I think in terms of schooling and bringing them up to learn how to be a little bit more disciplined with their focus, I think that that's going to be a challenge for you, because this is somebody who's going to want to run off and just figure things out in a way that is very intuitive and inspirational. And that's beautiful, but it's also not exactly practical from an educational point of view, or from a point of view of actually having to fit in more institutionally. And I know that, perhaps you're not going to want them to have to apply themselves or to kind of, to corner themselves off in a way that restricts them into a conservative perspective, but at the same time, they do need to be guided through certain processes in order to tick the boxes so that they can get what they need from a fundamental point of view in terms of the foundation and the building blocks of their world. This is a child who gives an enormous amount. The emotional depth I felt was very strong straight from the start. If we come over here to Treasure Island, there's a sense that they're looking for something that's really special. They're really reaching in very deeply into their process, into their inner world, into their emotional self in particular, but also into their spiritual self. They're on a journey that is all about looking for answers. And the treasure isn't a material treasure. It's actually a treasure that is deep within the heart and also within the spiritual self. I feel that this is a child that reaches very deeply to find something that is special, not only for themselves, but to also to share with other people. And it comes back to this kind of placement. I felt that this child was here on this earth, on this earthly plane, to really figure out themselves from a spiritual perspective. This is a spiritual journey, but not one that is full of hard twists and turns. I felt that there was a very fluid flow that this child just got, which was quite enviable actually, because most people meet so much resistance on their path, and this child doesn't seem to get that at all. And if I come down here to the Sun and the Queen of Cups, it sort of, really ties in with this emotional strength and maturity. They've got like this intelligence at a very kind of deep emotional wisdom level that, they can really navigate people and circumstances, in a way that is so astute in terms of, perceiving how people are feeling about what's going on, what they're thinking as well. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily psychic, but they're certainly deeply intuitive, and they trust that in a way where they don't have to think about it too much, to be honest with you. They're very nurturing. I felt that you would be very nurturing with this child, that you would actually obviously give them a lot, but they're a very nurturing individual as well. At a soul level, they really care about people, very compassionate. They have a very rich emotional world that's very rewarding for them, but a part of what that's about is actually connecting to other people in a very natural way. And they give straight from the heart, from the emotional and spiritual depths, the treasure that they found. They impart that to other people in a way where they don't think about it. And it can be quite profound at times. It sounds that there's a maturity here that's sort of beyond years, but at the same time, it's the flip side of that is that they are really light-hearted and fun-loving and just want to have a good time. So they actually don't take things too seriously, and not in a detrimental way. It's just in a very easygoing way. So this is a very relaxed child, and very connected on their spiritual journey. The angelite is a crystal that reinforces this. It has a connection to the angelic realm. It's associated with the throat and crown chakras. These are higher purpose energy points within the body that are really connecting them up to the spiritual path that they are most certainly on. I didn't feel that they were overly spiritual in a way where they become philosophically engaged to a sort of, like a boring point. This is somebody who takes key notes from spiritual understandings, from, like an intuitive level that just kind of applies it in a way where, it's very honorable, very honest. There's a lot of honesty here. I don't get any deceit. There's no deception whatsoever. And I don't get anybody who's living in their head. They're very present in their body and very in the moment. So there's a lot of meditational kind of cues here that give me a sense that this is a very connected child. What I find really interesting is that their depth of character is quite genuine, for one, and there's definitely a warmth there, a very free, loving person. And as they mature, the giving to people aspect will become quite an important part of their connected day-to-day life. I felt that this was somebody who would have a lot of really important relationships in their life. People would be very close to them. People would be very drawn to them. Once again, this Pied Piper nature comes into play, where I feel that people will follow this person, and so they'll have a lot of friends. And they'll be very easygoing, non-conflicted relationships, very close bonds with lots of different people. I felt that this was a person who had a very unique perspective from a much deeper level, in terms of the creative understanding of the world. I felt that there was something very artistic about them as a person. The Hanged Man is a card of unique perspective, okay? And, it really is reflective of artistry. It ties in with refined art. So fine arts is a possibility for this person. It also could mean something really refined like architecture. I kind of feel that the cultural, artistic, refined nature of this person as they develop and grow into their teen years, they'll be really drawn to nice clothes, cultured, refined aspects in terms of their understanding of the world, and I feel that they'll want to be very expressive of themselves in a way that's not verbal. This is somebody who wants to express themselves through something more crafted, something more symbolic, so that people can interpret what it is they're trying to say more loosely. Okay. So I felt that in later life, this was somebody who was definitely going to be drawn towards perhaps the fine arts, or something like architecture. Money was a big important part of their later life as well. I felt that they would land on their feet. This is somebody who lands on their feet. This is an enviable quality where nothing ever seems to go wrong for them. I mean, you know, whatever it is that happens, they just seem to kind of fall on their feet and they pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and they head in a direction that takes them towards a success of some sorts because they're guided. You know, this spiritual guidance comes in really strongly, but also they take things as they come, and they don't overanalyze anything in a way where they find a slipstream that just takes them to where it is that they need to be. So there's a fundamental underpinning of trust here, you know, of just taking the moment in a way where it's unquestionable. And this will lead them to success in the endeavors that they pursue with their artistic point of view. And I felt that that was going to be something that would reward them financially. So I felt there was a lot of security around this child. Communication was obviously very important. It just, you know, from a heart level, from an emotional level, and you know, they're very passionate and very giving. So there's definitely an artist here who is very reflective, loving, guiding. There's also something quite poetic about them in terms of their nature. You know, so music and poetry and matters of the heart, you know, that really, these are avenues or outlets that they can really express themselves in terms of how it is they really feel from a heartfelt level. So I hope this reading has made some sense to you, and if it has, please feel free to leave some comments down below. It'd be great to get your feedback. Like and share this video where you can. Hit subscribe, tap on the bell icon, that'll give you notifications for any future readings that I post. And if you're interested in the services that I offer as a psychic tarot reader, you can go to www.tonyfoxtarot.com. Thanks very much. Take care. Hi everyone, welcome to card 2. This is your reading, and today we're looking at your future child. And we've got some cards on the table ready to jump in. I felt this was a very supported childbirth process overall. And that comes from a lot of different angles, really. I felt that your relationship with your partner was really key in this particular process. I felt that you both got along really well, that you're at a time in your lives where this was really important to you. In some ways, I kind of feel it's even more important to the father, or the father energy of this relationship. I feel maybe they're under a lot of pressure from their own family to have a child. If it's not that, they certainly want to have a child. And I felt that they really wanted to have a child that they would be close to. That kind of almost sounds a little bit selfish, but it's not. I think that this father or father energy just really wants to have a child and wants to have a close relationship with a child where they can instill a lot of themselves or a lot of their values or a lot of their traditions into the world of this child, to shape this child in their eye in some ways, which is, you know, which is a very traditional way of looking at things. There are just some very loving but innate desires from this person to want to impart onto another individual. I felt that the two of you were really close at this particular time, or at least when you were going to have this child, that the two of you were in a great place in your relationship. And in some ways, I kind of felt, I wondered whether in some ways it may be a part of you wanting to also have this child was to make your partner happy. That you knew how important this would be to them. Might not be the case for all of you, but I kind of feel for some of you that will be the case. I feel here with the Hierophant and the Ten of Pentacles, I felt there's a lot of supportive energy around you during this pregnancy. Lots of friends and family, extended family even, maybe even people in the community that just hear about the news and wish and want the best for you in a way where they're just in there in very practical ways. Maybe helping you out with certain things like baby clothes, giving you a baby shower, or maybe some family might even, go as far as to want to make sure that you have everything in terms of security. I mean, that could be, something like maybe helping out to get your housing situation in order, or helping out to furnish the place or the baby room in a way where you just don't have to worry about things so much. So I kind of felt that for you, it was going to be a very supported, celebrated process right throughout, right up into this child coming into the world in a way where you'd have a lot of people around you that would be contributing into your world and giving you what you need. The thing about extended family is very strong here for me in this reading. It comes down through the father, but it also comes through, the family. I kind of feel that there's a lot of family around you. Might be on your side, might be on your partner's side, might be just on both sides. I kind of felt that maybe even there was a lot of pressure to have a child, a lot of expectation, but not in an overbearing way, just in a way that families do. My sense is that this was a very masculine energy coming through with this child. I felt that this could be a boy. And I felt that there was going to be a very special relationship between the father and this child. The child will share a lot of characteristic traits from the father. Looks, very similar looks, similar mannerisms, similar behaviors. They do a lot of things together. The Emperor is the father in tarot, so features very strongly in this particular reading. It's coupled with the Seven of Pentacles. It's just a very contemplative card that's about growth and nurturing growth in very practical terms. So I kind of felt that, again, just recapping, that the father would have a lot to do with the bringing up of this particular child in a way where they really looked out for them, made sure that they were on track, nurtured them to come up in their eye in a way where they instilled a lot of their values. But I felt that this relationship was very important throughout life. And that, the father would always be very deeply involved in the child's life in a way where, they were there for them in that capacity. And it's not to say that you don't have a special relationship with this child. In fact, I think for me, it kind of splits into two a little bit with this reading, because a part of it is also about you. One part's about the father and the father's values and having a very special, deep relationship with the child in a way where they want to impart themselves upon the child in values. And rearing them in their eye, but at a much more genuine and heartfelt level, I kind of felt that the child followed in your footsteps in terms of their very sensitive, emotional, and very caring capacity. Up here it's the Judgment and the King of Cups. Beautiful, beautiful cards with so much balance in terms of emotional maturity. This is going to be a very heartfelt child with an enormous amount of caring for other people. The King of Cups is a compassionate, understanding, genuine individual who is very much in touch with their emotional self. So the emotional maturity is very strong. I felt this was a child that came into the world with emotional maturity right from the set-go. It's coupled with Judgment, and Judgment has a lot of gravity in it. Judgment looks at the situation and understands how to get to the heart of matters. And it's coupled with traditional King of Hearts, or the King of Cups in this particular case. So this is a child who will really know how to be very true, very genuine, and at the same time to be able to carry that in combination with a kind of seriousness, really, and a concern for other people. Really looking out and making sure that everybody else is okay, giving love, caring, nurturing energy in a way that upholds people, helps them to become the best of themselves. It's through the heart. And so there's an honesty here that I feel is really important and integral to this child's nature. So yes, the father will have a very strong influence in terms of values, in terms of shaping their knowledge and understanding of the world, but from a much more intuitive and heartfelt level, I kind of felt that this child would be following in your footsteps, and that you'd have a very close emotional relationship where you'd really be with each other at a very honest level throughout your lives. This child knows how to navigate trickery, all that glitters. It's a really important card, because it points to superficiality. It points to tricksters and, disingenuous people who aren't being honest with themselves. This is an individual who knows how to read the room. They can understand what's going on at an intuitive level, and that really helps them to pick out lies and deceit in a way where they don't have to buy into it. So there's something quite lovely and light about this child. The one thing I'll say about this reading is I kind of feel there's a lot of seriousness here. It's kind of like, it's almost like the DNA of this child in terms of their incarnate, transition into this world is so highly evolved. They kind of hit the ground running at a very evolved level. The one thing I would say is a part of what I feel here is like making sure that this child has an upbringing that, celebrates, I guess, a lightheartedness, in a way that's really just about having fun and silliness. You don't want a child to kind of be taking on all of the worries of the world in a way where they feel like they have to go out and fix it and make sure that everybody's okay. But I do feel that that's actually a big part of what this child's pathway is all about. That they are destined for some quite big things in terms of their ambition. The Emperor is a very ambitious card. It's driven to reach the top. It really wants to make an impact on the world in a way where it does leave a mark, and the people will remember what it is that this person has done in terms of making a difference to people. I felt this child would do really well at school, be very well liked, knows how to navigate the system. And when I say the system, this is a child who goes into school and just understands what it is that needs to be done in terms of applying discipline and being involved at a level where they become, I guess, seem to be doing the right thing in a way. They kind of follow the rules, and they also enforce the rules in a way where it kind of sets them apart. This is a disciplined child who do their work very well, but they'll be very, very well liked and acknowledged by their schoolmates and by teachers, but also by the system. I kind of feel that there's something about the system for this child that is very important. I felt that scholarship was a part of a pathway forward for this child, that they do very well at school, and perhaps actually even fall into a scholarship that would actually take them into some sort of, if it's not more formal education, maybe it's a private school or some kind of a degree where they get scholarship to study through a period where they don't have to worry about the money and the security aspect. I felt that schooling would kind of reinforce a lot of the values that they kind of absorbed from their father. They're very drawn to, they're very well mannered. I get a very well mannered child, very, very sensitive to other people's needs, but they're very respectful of other people. They do the right thing. They also make sure that they do the right thing. There's something very politically inspiring about that. They know how to read the room. They know what's expected of them. They know how to navigate the system, and they know how to play it as well. Quite sophisticated, really. I felt that this is a child who would actually do very well at school, up here to Y, really getting into scholarly, a very scholarly focus that really is about looking at traditional aspects of society. And when I talk about that, they just understand what the system is requiring of them to succeed, but they also know where they fit within the system. And I kind of felt that later in life, that this is a child who would actually rise up into something like law and order. And that might be enforcing law and order. So it could be working within the system to do law and order, or it could be about being a lawyer. Maybe politics is also possible. And I felt if it wasn't that, maybe working in the government, some sort of high level, administrative position that wielded power and leadership. It was like rubbing shoulders with the institution and those that actually made important decisions. I kind of felt that the potential for this child to really unfold into something that was actually very powerful, yeah, rubbing shoulders with people in power, actually assimilating power. I mean, this is a child who commands an audience, who is actually quite powerful within their own right. I mean, Judgment, the King of Cups, very strong, very strong energy, really up the top there in terms of seeing what it is that needs to be done, making sure that everybody is okay. A child who knows how to navigate the system from a very early age in terms of institutions, at school, researching into scholarly aspects of that world in a way where they can navigate their pathway into power, and to be with people who have power and to absorb that power, and maybe even to gain a powerful position. So definitely could be working in government, but there's also a warrior spirit here. I mean, the energy of the Emperor is driven by Aries, and Aries is a warrior spirit. So there is an aggressive nature to this child. You know, it ties in with the ambition and the drive and the determination to reach the top. You know, you're instilling something that is very sensitive, creative, compassionate, and emotional. Yeah, you're drawing that energy out in a way where it really balances out the more conservative, I guess, defensive, maybe even aggressive at times nature of something that lends towards power. But I felt that the reason for that was that this person was going to do whatever it was that they were going to do in terms of their fulfillment in life through the work that they would do, that they would want to make a difference to help people at a high level. So there is kind of rhyme to reason in terms of what I'm seeing here. Overall, I kind of feel that this is a child who will make a stamp on the world. This is a very mature child who has enormous depth in terms of their emotional capacity. I felt that they would actually navigate the system, you know, like a breeze, really. I kind of feel that this is somebody who is heading towards success. They're heading into leadership, towards power. There's something very genuine about them. I think that they have a very strong drive to make an imprint on the world, to leave a mark. But I think fundamentally for me, I feel that you really need to make sure that this child has some fun in this world, that they actually have a childhood where they can actually be carefree and frivolous and really not get too caught up in the slipstream of seriousness. Because they'll have plenty of time to do that. I hope this reading has made some sense, and if it has, please feel free to leave some comments down below. It'd be great to get your feedback. Like and share this video where you can. Hit subscribe, tap on the bell icon, that'll leave you notifications for any future readings that I post. And if you're interested in the services that I offer as a psychic tarot reader, you can go to www.tonyfoxtarot.com. Hi everyone, welcome to card number 3. This is your reading, and today we're looking at your future child, and we've got some cards ready to jump in and have a look and see who this individual is. I get a sense that this child is coming through in a way where it's going to surprise you. I felt that this was a surprise pregnancy, something that you weren't expecting. Maybe the case for some of you, may not be the case for all of you. But definitely get a sense of surprise in here. Chance is what I get. I felt that for some of you, maybe this was your second child. And if it's not your second child, it was the first of 2. I felt 2 was very strong here with this particular child. That they would have a sibling at some point. And that they would also be very close, quite inseparable actually. My sense about this pregnancy is that I wonder whether this happened at a time where you weren't quite sure where the relationship was going, or whether perhaps you had different ideas about what you were doing with your own life. Travel comes up really strongly in this reading, and I'm wondering whether whether you had thought that you might be traveling somewhere or that you were traveling with your partner somewhere and you got pregnant, and it really just kind of brought everything into really solid focus. It's like, okay, so where are we going? What are we doing? You know, how do we figure this out? And it really grounds the relationship in a way where the two of you actually become really solid, as far as putting down roots, you know, a foundation in life that draws the two of you close together and actually really underscores the dynamic opportunities that are available to the both of you as a couple. So I felt that this was a very positive influence. This child had a very positive influence on your life and your partner's life in a way where it really drew you both close together. And my sense is that this pregnancy is kind of a bit of a wild ride as well. I kind of feel like it's almost like, you know, the energy of this child is very strong, very passionate, very fiery, very adventurous, which I feel reflects you as the parent, possibly the kind of feminine, sort of more maternal energy. So this could be the mother. So I kind of felt like it was a bumpy pregnancy. Not in a negative way, but just like this child really lets you know that they're here, they're alive, they're kicking, and they are very eager to get out. That's the thing. You know, I'm wondering whether actually this child might come ahead of time. So you know, it could be, you know, before the due date. And I got a very feminine energy coming through here. So this could be a girl. I kind of feel like this child hits the ground running in a very dynamic way. There's a lot of energy really rising up in a way where they have something to say, but they're very animated as an individual, very physically animated. Over here at Strengths and the Knight of Wands, I get a sense that this is a very uninhibited child, also very light-hearted. You know, the Knight of Wands is, you know, it's lift-off, it's taking off, and the Strengths card is very passionate, and it's an energy that rises up. So a lot of energy, very light-hearted, uninhibited, and instinctual. You know, very, very passionate energy coming through here. You know, Strength is a card of great feeling and creativity that rises up to the surface. The Knight of Wands is a card that drives the energy into the air. It really gives a lot of lift. I felt that this child would be very animated, very adventurous. They're going to get into everything, you know. So as soon as they're in this world, as soon as they're kind of, I felt that they'd be advanced in terms of maybe crawling to walking, you know, very kind of wanting to get up on their feet and climb up over everything, always looking for something new and exciting to get into. They love an adventure, and that's going to carry through with them, you know, throughout their life. And there's this very uninhibited nature. It's like nothing kind of stops them. Nothing. I don't get any fear here. There's no fear. It's like this child just sees something out of curiosity, wants to climb it, wants to get into. And you could say all kids are like this, but this is very, I guess, very remarkable for this child in particular. It's more of a, you know, mark of things to come in terms of their nature. Travel is still a big theme here that carries through into this chart. I've already identified that with the potential of, you know, yourself or you and your partner traveling. I felt that this child, you know, throughout their life, later in life, would be very adventurous in terms of wanting to go and travel to different places. You know, Strength is a very passionate card. The Knight of Wands, the Knight of Wands, you know, it has liftoff, so there's a potential for travel within that. But we come over here to Temperance. This is definitely a card of travel that takes you overseas. And the energy of this child is very much one that wants to, it wants to get out there and experience life and to have, I guess a very enriched experience from a cultural point of view as well. You know, the King of Pentacles is a very cultured card in that it reflects, you know, the high end of, you know, a financial situation that affords a lot of cultural activity. So, you know, for me, I kind of feel that this child is going to look for experiences that are very enriching in terms of cultural identity. They want to see places, they want to experience different cultures, but they'll also want to experience cultural aspects of society, so whether that's to do with going to museums or art galleries, maybe also very expressive in terms of the way they look and the way they dress. I felt a very strong relationship here with an older relation. I wonder whether this could be a grandfather or a grandmother. I felt that this child would have a very, very close relationship with somebody who might be either one of your parents or one of your partner's parents. They had this really special, very strong bond that shared a lot of enriching experiences. And I felt that this was almost like a mentor for them, like it taught them a lot, it gave them a lot of perspective about what the world was about, but also this was also a motivating or a guiding factor in terms of this person instilling values that was about travel and seeing different sides of life. I felt also here with Temperance and the King of Pentacles that this was a child that had a very, there's a very angelic feeling coming through here with this particular child. I felt that like it's a very pretty child or a very good looking child. It's a child that people, so in terms of their looks, I kind of get a very striking, look. And I felt that this child would be really drawn to relationships with people in general. There's something that's quite giving about them. They really want to enrich other people and bring out the best in other people in a way that I've not really seen before, to be honest with you. Temperance is all about balance and, connecting in with people as well. The cups are symbolic of like an emotional or a spiritual connection. And so I kind of felt, that coupled with the King of Pentacles, it's really about getting the best, when you're connecting with people, understanding who it is that they are from a very cultural point of view, also understanding what is that you can give to them. The King of Pentacles gives a lot. It's a very philanthropic card, and it has a lot to give, both materially and financially, but also of itself, because it sees the greater good in terms of its potential to look after people. So I kind of feel that this is a child who will really look out for people and do their best to make sure that everybody else is okay in a very sort of secure way. I get this thing coming through for me of a child who dresses up a lot. They dress things up, they dress themselves up, they like to look good. So maybe when they're a child, when they're younger and they're kind of, a bit more sort of animated and of an age where they're able to kind of do things like dress ups and set up sort of little stagey things that are all about make-believe, which is very common in kids. But I kind of felt that was also another really important feature that kind of fed into a later life characteristic that formed their I guess their pursuit in terms of what they do. I felt that perhaps this was a child who might look for sort of work that was on the stage, maybe dressing stages, maybe dressing people, working in wardrobe, maybe working in fashion even. This thing about clothing and looking really good and helping other people and making sure that you bring out the other best. It kind of comes through on a very creative level as well. And so my sense is that this person's always going to look for the potential in people to actually come up and look their best, to be their best, but is very good at making things look beautiful. So it's very much about the aesthetics. Looking good is also about making your environment look good. So I come back to that idea of dressing a stage, but also, in their house, in their home, or within their bedroom as a child, they're going to want to kind of have everything in a place so that it looks really pretty or looks really aesthetically pleasing. And there's a richness here for me. This kind of is almost a little ostentatious in a way, over the top, in a way where it's very creatively expressive, but very beautiful to look at. So I kind of feel that there's something very rich in the nature of this child, that there's something about green thumbs here as well. I've got to point to that. The King of Pentacles is a card that also reflects an aspect of nature. And I felt that when this child put their finger or their thumb to something in the garden, everything blossoms. They've just got there's something very natural, very easygoing about this child. I love that. Actually, I really do love that. And you get that here with Temperance and the Two of Pentacles. There's a fluidity. They get along very easily with people, very uninhibited. Also seen here in the Knight of Wands, very kind of elevated energy that's uninhibited, reaching for the sky, looking outwardly without any kind of, there's no negativity here. I think this is what's really lovely. It's very light-hearted, very balanced, very easygoing. But there's a risk taker here, no doubts about it. Wheel of Fortune, Two of Pentacles. Wheel of Fortune is all about a risk. It's all about a gamble. It's taking a chances. This child will, they just won't, again, not inhibited. They don't see anything wrong with taking a risk, taking a chance, just kind of, rolling the dice and seeing where it goes. To them, it's all about unfolding life in a way where it just feeds into their inquisitiveness, their free nature of really seeing an opportunity and going for it. So very unbridled in their outlook. I felt there was something rather unconventional about this child here with the Wheel of Fortune and the Two of Pentacles. It's the flexibility, seeing opportunity in things, but also seeing two sides of the coin. They look at both sides. They're not judgmental. And that kind of, for me, opens everything up in a very fresh and new way where they can see the potential in things. They're not restricted by narrow points of view. They're not restricted by, I guess, more conventional approaches that, really lead to conservatism. For me, this is a much more liberated child who has expressive energy, wants to get into the world, understands the richness of culture, multiculturalism, and there's some really lovely balanced perspectives here. Overall, what I get here is a very positive energy, actually. And there's another thing here. I think that they'd be very good as an intermediary. They're the type of person where if somebody's having an argument, you put this person in between those two people, and they can lead everything back into balance. And and another part of what I felt with that is this is a child who could be multilingual. Maybe they're going to be born into a family that's multilingual. They'll have, the ability to articulate points of view from another side. So that could be about interpreting language, interpreting ideas. It's quite endless in terms of their potential to be able to be a person who actually facilitates balance and understanding for other people. Look, I hope this reading has made some sense, and if it has, please feel free to leave some comments down below. It'd be great to get your feedback. Like and share this video where you can. Hit subscribe, tap on the bell icon. That'll give you notifications for any future readings that I post. And if you're interested in the services that I offer as a psychic tarot reader, you can go to www.tonyfoxtarot.com. Thanks very much. Hi everyone, welcome to card number 4. This is your reading, and today we're looking at your future child or children, as is the case in this particular reading, because I get 2 children coming through here. This is either going to be twins. If it's not twins, it's having one child and then a child very closely after the birth of the, after the birth of the second one, so a year later. I felt a lot of similarities here between these 2 kids. They look the same, they act the same, they think the same. Really, like, for me, peas of a pod. There's just an energetic vibe here that really parallels the 2 of them in a way where they just seem to be here on a journey that really reinforces each other in a way where they learn from each other, and learning together is a big thing as well. I felt that this was a very clear-cut childbirth process from conception through to gestation and birth, but I felt a real clinical vibe coming through here with this particular reading for both of these kids. I wonder whether this was actually going to be a hospital birth, and also potentially, as here with the swords, they really reflect a surgical nature. This is possibly a cesarean section. I get a very clear cut process from right from the beginning right through to the end in terms of the overall birthing process. But I also got this thing about painlessness came through for me really strongly as well. That could be the clinical setting, or maybe having some stops pain. But I felt this was a relative. I know childbirth is not going to be painless, but for me, as far as it goes, this felt like a fairly painless process. But both of these children come into this world very quickly. I don't feel this is a drawn out birth, and I feel that there is definitely a masculine and a feminine vibe for me. The first child I felt could be potentially a boy, and the second child potentially a girl. There is something really strong about the first child. They really look over the second child in a way that is very protective. And there's also something very mature about the first child that the second child doesn't have. I kind of felt that the first child would really look out for the other child in a very protective way, that they would always be there for the second child, that they felt perhaps that the second child had a vulnerability that needed to be watched over. But I think also that's the case of this child actually looking out for most people in that way. They're very drawn to people in a way where they want to be close to them, but they also keep a very cool distance. This isn't a child that has a lot to say. I don't feel that they're overly chatty or that they talk. I get a very quiet child, a very quiet, very observant child who takes everything. They soak it all up like a sponge, which is what kids do. But this child has some kind of an intellectual capability that really is very advanced, both for their age, but this will go throughout their life. I feel that they're very comfortable in their head. They're very comfortable with learning and analyzing things in a way where they know how to apply their understanding very concisely, very astutely. They're very perceptive. They'll sit there in a corner and, they'll soak up all of the information, especially if there's adults around. The kind of child that it's like you don't know that they're even there because there's something stealth about them for me, which might be at times a little bit unsettling because you won't know that they're there, and then you'll turn around and you'll realize that they've watched, heard, and absorbed every single piece of information that everybody is talking about or whatever it is that's going on. So for me, there's something very strong in terms of this particular individual's academic potential. The swords are all about the intellect. They're all about thinking. They're all about analyzing and observing, but also about our ability to reflect that understanding from a very scientific point of view. And I felt that science was very much a focus for this particular child, that they would actually later in life focus on that particular area in terms of a professional pursuit. My sense that this is going to be a very competitive kid who will be really good at sports, but who will really play to win, go the distance. It's really about getting across the distance very quickly, but also getting to the finish line very quickly. There's a lot of energy here that needs to be expelled for me. And this particular child will have a lot of push, a lot of drive, a lot of determination to really go the distance in terms of achievement. And the King of Swords is definitely at the top end of the order in terms of their ability to succeed. They're a natural leader. They're a born leader. But they don't want to lead just for the sake of it. They want to lead where it really counts. And once again, putting that into the context of their academic capabilities, I feel that from a young age, this child is going to need a lot of attention in terms of pushing themselves into areas where they can really unfold their intellect. So they're going to want to do things that are very bookwormy, very study orientated. I feel this is a child that gets into school from an early age. They just like a duck to water. They love learning, and it'll all be very focused, and they'll achieve things without having, like, it's going to be really easy for them. They're not going to have to think too hard about anything. They're like a duck to water. They'll just really soak up the academic experience in a way where I feel that they'll fly through school and possibly even be ahead of the game in terms of needing extra kinds of stimulus to really keep them engaged in a way where they can just quite naturally learn. So I felt, for me, the first child, which is the masculine child, would be advanced in their years, and possibly at times that would actually be quite literal, with maybe jumping a year at school, or if not, certainly needing extra activities to engage them, because they'll soak up things so quickly that they'll have it all finished and they'll be sitting there twiddling their thumbs or fingers thinking, what do I do next? I felt this was a child who was very self-reliant. They kind of, coming over here to the Star and the Eight of Pentacles, the Star is a card of focus. It's really about figuring out what it is that you want. And it reflects this drive and determination. This child will be very black and white and very focused on what it is that they want. And if they can't have it, I think they'll get quite upset. And I feel that, perhaps from an emotional point of view, maybe that's where they're not going to do so well. And that's possibly where they'll need to be reared in a way that it really coaxes out their sensitivity, their feeling, their ability to really concentrate on their emotional development. I feel that that's something that might be lacking because they'll overcompensate with their intellect. But definitely this child is somebody who is very focus orientated and also very hands-on. I kind of feel that they'll be very good with their hands. They'll need to get out of their head by occupying themselves with something that's a little bit more physical, which is why they'll be really good at sports, because it takes them out of their head, gives them the ability to exercise their energy at a different level. I really do feel that the emotional self really is something that, as a parent, that you will need to concentrate on here, that needs to be coaxed out and developed in a way where they can really come to terms with that and give it some balance. But over here to the Six of Wands, this is a card of achievement, of success. And I feel that the very focus-orientated nature of this first child will be one where they're very point and go. Once they make their mind up to do something, they'll just apply themselves and they'll actually get very successful results. I felt that they would fly through school, that they would be very rewarded throughout school. This is a child who actually gets trophies for sport, trophies for things like math. I felt that they would get certificates and rewards that really give them acknowledgement to sort of really validate their learning. And that this was somebody who would actually go on to academia. I felt, this was a child who would really want to be engaged with further pursuits at an academic level to really reach a level of excellence. For me, I felt later in life this particular child would be drawn to health. Now, the Star is a card of health, and this child is going to be very good with their hands, but coupled with their intellectual ability, their ability to succeed in academia, I felt that there was something surgical about this child. Perhaps this child will be a surgeon or work in health that is very hands-on, helping other people. They're very close to people, they observe other people, they're very caring of other people, but at the same time, there's something a little bit detached as well. They want that caring from a distance. And they do really well in something like, surgery, as a doctor, helping people, really exercising their ability to push the boundaries, to go the extra distance in terms of perhaps doing something that was life-saving or life-changing. And they have a quest to be rewarded in terms of people acknowledging what it is that they're capable of doing. I feel that overall, this child there's absolutely no problems as far as their development is concerned. But what I do feel is lacking a little bit here for me is a bit of fun, a little bit of childishness, a bit of silliness. I kind of feel that this child comes into the world with a bit of seriousness that kind of bypasses some of the more fun-like things that kids do. And I think that that's possibly where you really need to focus in. But coming down to the second child, I felt a very different energy coming through here. Fundamentally, there's the characteristics between them is that they're very tied in. But at the same time, this is a child who has a real creative flair. They have a very unique perspective on how the world works. They were also very, very intelligent, very complex. But this child is a little bit more socially sophisticated for me. Also a little bit more withdrawn as well. There's two sides to this child. I definitely get here with the hangman. Hangman is all about creative perspective, looking at things from a different angle. It's also a card of artistry, so it's about artists and actors and poets and musicians. This child definitely has the ability to do something that is very academically orientated around the arts, whether that is actually, fine arts or music. So for me, this is a child who is going to also be drawn to creatively express something that they're not quite so comfortable to verbalize from themselves. There is definitely a vulnerability about this particular child, and I can see why the first child will look over them. A vulnerability in a positive way, not one in a way where I feel that they are going to falter and fall. In fact, if anything, I kind of feel that they'll draw from that vulnerability, as a strength. There's something quite flamboyant about the nature of this child. On one hand, you've got somebody who's quite withdrawn at a very deep and personal level, who has a very artistic and creative expression. On the other, ability to express. And then on the other hand, you have over here with the High Priestess and the King of Pentacles, you've got somebody who's actually really over the top and ostentatious. Somebody who loves to be lavished with attention and who wants to take center stage by acting out a very different persona. But this is the High Priestess is quite a mysterious card. It's not a black and white card at all. It's a veiled card. And the King of Pentacles is a card that is very over the top in terms of not only its expression, but also it's a card that wants to give to other people. It's a very philanthropic card. It really wants to share its wealth in a way where it gives to other people. And for me, I kind of felt that the King of Pentacles is also a card that is, it is a little bit over the top in terms of it being an expressive card. I felt that this was a child who could put on like a very different mask, a very different character. They could slip into a portrayal of something that was fictitious. Acting out is a really big feature of this child. And I feel that they would be the kind of kid who will put on a show, for everybody. And, you'll all be sitting there and, in the lounge room or, sitting wherever it is that you're sitting. And, this is a child that, stops everybody, makes everybody sit down, and then acts out some little episode that really is expressive at a very creative level. And they're very comfortable with that. They love the attention that they get for that. There's something quite vibrant about them here to new life. There is something very powerful in that expression. There is life here that needs to be articulated in a way that shows a perspective that is very creative, but also very intelligent and sophisticated. So this isn't just acting out for the sake of it. This is actually finessing, like a character assimilation. Whether it's through art, whether it's through acting, it's something that really needs to come out in a way where this child can let everybody know what it is that needs to be said. And I feel that, there is something very captivating about this in a way where this child later in life will really step in towards the arts, into creative expression. I felt that money was a big focus for this child later in life. Yeah. The King of Pentacles is certainly high on the end of the order with reward from a financial and material point of view. I felt that this was a child who would be very successful later in their life. I felt that they wouldn't take their academic work so seriously. At times, possibly they'd be pulling back away from that, wanting to spend more time on their own, in their own company, in a way that was very daydreamy, very self-absorbed at a level where perhaps they avoided doing things that they didn't like to do. very capable child, very intelligent, very complex, very sophisticated. There's something quite street smart and savvy about this child from a very young age. I feel that this child has a really sharp wit, very humorous, very entertaining, says things that captures everybody off guard, makes them laugh, and sharply astute. Like, it's like quite scary. It goes right to the bone in terms of their observations about other people and can reflect that out into a conversation that is almost quite frightening. So this is a sharp cookie. They're both very sharp individuals, to be honest with you. But with the second child, I felt that they could be quite proud. The King of Pentacles is a very proud card. It certainly doesn't want to back down either. It's quite stubborn. So pride often can get in the way of this child, but they do need to be rewarded with recognition. They're looking for validation. They will be very good at schoolwork, but I feel that you'll need to give them a push to be able to actually engage in it in a way where they're actually doing the work. Otherwise, they'll sit around and daydream quite a lot. I felt the two of these children would get along very well. They'd spend a lot of time together as kids, a lot of time in their own company with each other, very entertaining for each other and of each other. I felt that this connection was very strong throughout their lives. They would always be very close together. They would always parallel experiences with each other, looking out for each other, more so with the first one. But all in all, I feel that there is something quite remarkable about each of them individually, as much as there is as both of them as a couple of kids. I hope this reading makes some sense to you, and if it has, or if it does, please feel free to leave some comments down below. It'd be great to get your feedback. Like and share this video where you can. Hit subscribe, tap on the bell icon. That'll give you notifications for any future readings that I post. And if you're interested in the services that I offer as a psychic tarot reader, you can go to www.tonyfoxtarot.com. Plenty of information there about who it is that I am and what it is that I do. Thanks very much and take care.